Marcus, how long have you been growing your hair out?
I think it goes all the way back to 2011 because I had short hair at 2010 games. There's some like photos where I look like I'm maybe 18 years old. Just the shorter hair just did that. And then 2011, I remember at regionals, I had a top knot. It was the first time I could like pull it together on the top. And I wore like they were giving out, it was like the first year with Reebok. They were giving out like the Reebok, regional shirts, and I ripped the sleeve off of one of them, and I was wearing it as like a headband because my hair was kind of getting a little out there. And then I never looked back. And to be honest, it started in 2010. I had like short hair, and I got into wearing baseball hats and I went to a seminar with James Fitzgerald. And he's like, why? He's like, why you got your hair so short? He's like, you got great hair. You should grow that out. I was like, oh, okay.
Leave it to OPT to motivate that, right? To inspire that decision.
I never told him that. But he was like, you should grow that. You should let it flow. And then his thing to me, like the last couple of years we were working together was like, like let your hair down. It's kind of like a metaphor for just like letting it all loose and just giving in to the fact that I'm an athlete in the sport and I'm not just kind of it's not a hobby. It's really something that I'm good at, and I can fulfill some dreams if I really just commit to it. So yeah, that was it all came from the hair comment.
So it's kind of like Samson. It's like it's your source of strength. Can't let it get cut or anything.
Yeah, my dad loves to reference that, and when he first started referencing it, there's a lot of things my dad says. My dad's a really well-educated, well-learned man, and it's like something funny about like our family. We'll have family get-togethers, and Dad says something that's like some saying or something, and he's like, oh, it's like something, and everyone's like, what does that even mean? Like, we play Boggle. The game Boggle? Yeah. It's like shake up the letters. It's just kind of random, collection of letters, and you have to like spell out words. And he would always have these words that just, he's like, it's as in this and that, and what does that even mean? So to get back to your question, or what you just mentioned about Samson, my dad would say things, and I kind of learned how to just acknowledge it and be like, oh yeah, sure, and just kind of having no idea what he's talking about. And he started saying that about my hair and about Samson. I was like, this is another one of those things where Dad just assumes everybody knows what he's talking about, but I don't know this Greek mythology or whatever it is. So it was probably about 2 years where he was saying something about Samson. I didn't know what that meant. I still don't even really know what it means. From what I gather, there's maybe a Greek god that had a lot of hair, and there's strength derived from that hair, and you can't cut the hair.
Right, it's a Bible thing. I think
Bible.
A woman named Delilah cuts his hair and he loses all of his strength.
See, I was even in the right.
So I think the lesson though is just stay away from women named Delilah.
Right, and I haven't met a woman named Delilah yet.
So there you go. Speaking of sort of making dreams come true, you have returned to the games after having to take last year off.
Yeah.
What was that like, knowing that 2015 was a wash, and yet you had another shot to come back in 2016?
Well, I mean, 2015 was an effort up until right around December, at which point I called it off for the season, but I called it off actually without any intention of coming back to the sport. The only thing I was committed to at that point was the 2015 grid season, which I was still happy about because of the people I was involved with in that sport, and I had really strong connections and loyalty to them. So I was like, well, that'll keep me focused on training, but I didn't know if I would ever compete in CrossFit again. And I think it was really good for me to completely detach from competing for a period of time, to not identify myself around that during the open season and regionals, yet still be around a lot of competitors and participants and go to regionals and spectate and coach athletes at various stages of the competition. In 2015, I had a couple Masters athletes qualify last season, and a couple of, one athlete qualify for regionals. So I was invested in the sport, but I wasn't there as an athlete for a period of time. and not knowing I was going to come back. So it wasn't as though I said, I'm leaving, but I'm going to come back next year. That, in the back of my mind, I left the opportunity that, the possibility that could happen. But it was more valuable for me to just say, I'm walking away, and I don't know what's going to happen. I had a different experience when I left. I left medical school in 2008, and I left because my heart was telling me I shouldn't be there. But I left, and I was like, I'll just defer for a year. I'll have that option to come back. And I think that option to go back sort of it didn't allow me to fully explore what was out there without it. And I think that would have been the case for CrossFit if I had just kind of hung my hat on some, false identity of I'm a competitor and I'm going to be back in 2016. It kind of didn't strip that of me, and it didn't strip me down to have to figure out who I was outside of being a competitor. So it was a really tremendous year for me in so many ways, and I have no regrets about it whatsoever. Even if I hadn't made the games this year, no regrets for taking that time away from the sport.
So, what was sort of the catalyst for starting to come back for 2016, the revival of the fittest? What was that?
I just started to feel really good again. I'd spent, I think, enough time 2014 injured and overtrained, and not because I had bad coaching, but just because I was trying to participate in a sport that was growing really fast and the competition was growing really fast, and I just hadn't put in the time yet. So I was trying to play a little catch up, and I think back-to-back CrossFit Games and grid season in 2014 just left me tired and achy and injured. And then, once the break had happened and my hormones started to balance out and I started to feel what it was like to be somewhat normal again, and train in a way that was more for balance and structure and fitness than it was for competitive like CrossFit. Maybe taking a break from high volume movements that would leave me feeling, beat up. Once that good feeling came back, I was just reconnected with the love of pushing myself. And then I think having 6 months where I wasn't training for CrossFit and I could just build a good solid base of aerobic fitness and strength, it set me up for a really great year to follow of training for the sport. And I think after grid season in 2015, I was just excited, felt good. I had built a tremendous amount of confidence, and I wanted to get back into being, in a sport where I was now an individual as opposed to the team experience I had with the Phoenix Rise last year. And so that kind of sparked it. And then my coach was just on board to support me through that. And he just had a tremendous amount of confidence in me, and he always has had a lot of confidence in me, so that helped.
So how's it feel to be back here now?
Yeah, it feels really good. I mean, I gotta say, I'm more relaxed going into this year's games. Not in I don't really care how things go. I'm as competitive going into this year as I've ever been. I kind of feel like I know the ropes a little bit. I feel like a veteran. I feel like I'm one of the older athletes. Because I am one of the older athletes, and I've just accumulated enough life experience in the last year, getting married, selling my business, changing some directions in my life, that I'm just okay, I can compartmentalize what we're about to do and say, okay, it's just 5 days of my life, and I've worked really hard for it. I'm going to have a great experience, and I'm going to push myself, and then once that's over, it's we're moving on, it is not to me, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to any other competitor who sees it differently. It is not, my whole life is not wrapped up in this week and how I do at the CrossFit Games. I'm not letting it define who I am, and I still see a tremendous opportunity to prove some things to myself and to give people that care about me something to root for.
Awesome. Well, we're rooting for you. I'm a fan. Ever since I saw you kind of get back in the gym and start posting your workouts again, I knew that you were going to make it. I had a lot of confidence. It wasn't just your coaches that had confidence.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. We're looking forward to watching you compete.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.